All right, y'all, it is finally time to wire up the bed of my Tacoma. If you guys have been following along with this build, you know that recently I partnered up with openroadfourwheeldrive.com and I am running their brand new all aluminum truck bed camper. This isn't just a topper with a tent on it. This is a full integrated camper. So the tent pops up from the inside and you can actually stand up, walk around here and camp. Over the past few episodes, if you've been following along, I've been slowly building this out to be ready to camp so that I can use it and still use it as a truck bed. It's turning out great. Last week we put the Blue Eddy system in the back. I built a little spot for it. I ran the wire from the alternator so that we can keep the Blue Eddy charged. This week we're getting to the wiring, finally. And I want to be kind of thorough in this episode so I can help some of you guys out. I put these switch panels, these are right here. These are just the cheap, this is an 8-gang switch panel. They come in 6-gang, 12-gang. I put them in everything. I've got them in my camper, my side-by-side, my bass boat, the cab of my Tacoma. They're just great 12-volt push-button panels. If you've got a few different things that you want to control with the push of a button and you don't want a whole bunch of toggle switches or them cheap plastic switches everybody gets from Amazon, you want it to look clean, you get you one of these and it all wires up nice and clean. And I always get questions in the comments of all my videos where I use these from guys wanting to know how the heck did I wire this up with a power bank or a certain style battery. And it's really not that hard, and I'm going to cover that for you guys in this episode. And everything that I show you today, I'm going to show you how we're doing it with the Blue Eddy in this build, and I'm going to go over how I did it for the camper with a regular lithium battery. And everything that I use for those setups, I'll link in the video description below. The certain wires and connectors and stuff that I use, I'll be sure to link it all down. I'll try to categorize it in the description. So if you see something you're interested in or you need or you want to attempt to do for your build, these are really easy to do. I'll have the links for it down there. But we're going to be installing this 8-button switch panel, and we're using that panel to control a lot of stuff. 12-volt ports, USB ports for the fridge, but we're also going to be installing these new KingPin F-Series lights. These are awesome. If you're a subscriber of the channel, you know that I put these KingPin lights in everything. They've been in my last 2 truck setups. I got them in the camper. These things will go on everything. And I've got some 40-inch bars and some of their 12-inch bars. And the plan is I want to mount them. I want to mount some 40-inch bars on these doors because I think they'll fit perfect. I just got to figure out if I want them in here or up here. So once I figure that out, we'll get them mounted up. And then I've got some 12-inch lights that we're going to try to get up into the tent. And then we're going to have this button mounted in here in a really nice, clean way. You're not going to see any wires going around. And I'll be able to drop the tailgate, reach in there, and just turn on whatever I want to turn on, control all the lights individually, turn the fridge on, the fan on, whatever we want to turn on. So what I want to do is I'm going to take you guys into the studio because you can obviously, I'm sure, hear the traffic behind you. And I want to show you exactly how I wire these systems up. That way I'm not trying to show you out here. I'll go over it in the studio. Once I feel like I've explained it enough or talked way too much, I'm going to come out here and get to work on this, get everything set up, and we'll see how it turns out, because this is the last step for this setup before I can actually take it out and use it. I wanted to add power before I used it for the first time, so now we're good. I got the lights here. We're fixing to do this today, and I'll be ready to camp. So let's go to the shop. Hopefully y'all can see everything I got on the bench here. First, I'm going to show you guys how you do it with just a regular battery. This is just a regular 12-volt lithium battery that I got here, and kind of the stuff that I use when I'm building out one of these camper setups. So in a boat, side-by-side, whatever, anywhere you're going to be running a 12-volt battery to power your new push-button system. So this one, I'll try to go over and touch on everything on the table here and the different stuff. This one is from a company called Nylite. You can get them off Amazon. They're pretty cheap brand, and they're almost all the same. I've got a lot of them that I've partnered with in the past from Oxbeam. You know, the Oxbeam one, I think I run an Oxbeam in the camper, and I've got an Oxbeam one in my truck in the cab of my Tacoma. But there's a few different brands out there, and they're basically all the same. They got a different fuse panel now. I will say that. I do like the Oxbeam fuse panels better than this one, but they've got their pros and cons. The Oxbeam ones are a cleaner install, I think, on the end. These are just a little more, cheaply made, but they are a lot cheaper, I believe. So I'll have links to this one on Amazon, and I think I've got discount codes still with Oxbeam for theirs. through their website, I believe. If I do, I'll put it all down below in the video description. But when you order one of these push button switch game panel kits, you'll get a fuse box, you'll get a push button controller, and they've got them, like I said, all the way up to, I think, a 12 button. I think I run a 12 button in my side-by-side. They got 6 buttons. They got some that are just straight up and down now. They're not a square or a rectangle. But you'll get a fuse panel, you'll get this, and you'll get a long single wire. And the wires have a special connector on the end. And this is my favorite part about this setup, is this wire connects to your switch panel. It's a waterproof connection too. It's got O-rings on the inside, but this will plug together. And then this wire is the only wire you have to run to your switch panel. So if you're running, if you think, oh my goodness, I've got to run 10 lights and I'm going to have 10 different buttons, I hate that I'm going to have to run 2 wires, a red and a black wire from each light all the way up to there to the button. You don't have to do that. Those light wires run to your fuse box, and each light is controlled, or each outlet, whatever it is controlled by its own fuse, which you can kind of determine which size fuse yourself on this setup. They come pre-installed with different numbers of fuses, but you can swap those out to whatever you want on that switch panel. If you just want to run a bunch of 5 amps or a bunch of 10 amps, you can do that. But the only wire you got to run to your buttons is this one, and you can extend these. So like if you get this set up and you realize, I think it comes with like a 10-foot cable, which is way more than I need for my setup. But I have bought extra extensions before, because when I run them in my truck, I run the wire all the way up to the cab of my truck and under the truck, and I needed a longer extension. So I ended up putting 2 together and making a 20-foot run. But that's all you need with this. Now, to get it to work, for this scenario, I'm going to show you what we're installing. These are the KingPin F-Series lights. These are the best lights on the market for truck camping. They have 2 functions on them. You can hit a button to turn them on and off, or you can hit a button to turn them from white to red. So if you need a red light at night to keep bugs and stuff away, you'll see in a little bit in this episode when we get them all installed and turned on how the red light looks, and they look really cool. If you follow the channel, you know that I put these in everything, and the red light is pretty awesome. I love running the red light on my setups when we're camping. And you can get them where they mount flat, which they come with the mounting hardware, where these have the 3M double-sided sticky tape, so you can stick them to something flat, or they come with the mounting screws with mounting slots where you can screw them to something flat. If you want to be able to reach up and tilt them and angle them, you can get their brackets that do that. These are, what were these called? I forgot what they're called now. I'll put it on the screen what they're called. But these actually slide onto the ends of these lights, just like this. It's a nice clean install too. I love the way they install. But once you slide them on there, they lock in, and it becomes part of the light. You can't tell that it's a separate bracket. And it makes it so that you can aim the light in a different direction. So the ones over the tailgate, if I want to reach up and twist it to shine it into the bed, I don't have to move, the lid of my tailgate of my hatch. I can just reach up and aim the lights, which is really cool. But you can get those separately, or you can just run them flat. If you're just going to be putting these in a hatch and you just need it flat, you won't need those aiming brackets. But those also come with their own mounts too. When you get those brackets, it'll come with the double-sided sticky tape and the screws, depending on how you wanted to mount them up. We're going to attempt to do the double-sided sticky tape on some of my mounts in this build, but I have noticed over my last few setups, those camper shells on the back of the truck, they get really hot during the summertime when they're all shut up. And I noticed that metal, that my last setup, it got so hot that the lights that I had held in with the double-sided sticky tape, they would get really, really hot, and I would open the lid sometime or open the back hatch, and the light would drop down. They would come unstuck because it got so hot, and I ended up going back with some rivets or screws. So just depending on what you're putting it in, it'll be what you need for that setup. But you can get the kits. You can get this is a power supply kit that you'll get from them. It comes with 25 feet of and I believe it's a 12-volt wire. I believe it's a 14-gauge wire, and it comes with the zip ties that you need and the terminals and a built-in fuse already on it, 25 foot. So If your battery's on one end of your setup and you're trying to run your fuse box on the other side of the setup, this will come with plenty of wire to be able to do that. You can also get their 30 foot of 20 gauge power wire directly from them. So the power wire is basically this same exact wire that's on all of their lights already. It's a combined red and black wire in one sleeve. So it's just one black wire that's got the two wires in it. And you can get that same wire by the spool with their kits on their website. So if you need to extend a light wire, which we'll have to do, because you see some of these, they come with the, I think the length of the light. So the 12-inch light comes with 12 inches of wire already attached. And it looks like the 40-inch light comes with about 40 inches of wire attached. So some of them will be able to reach to where we're running to the fuse box, but some of them, like up in the tent, that's where I'll need this extension wire. I'll be able to tag to it and then run it down to the fuse panel. So you can get all of that at KingPin's website, and I'll have it linked below. If they was to give me a discount code, which I don't know if I got one with KingPin, but if they was to, I'll put it in the description next to that video link for them. All right, so that covers your wiring. Now, to get this to work with a battery, the setups that I like to do, so say you're going to put this in with a regular 12-volt battery. What I like to use are these Anderson connectors. You can get these on Amazon, and it's just a simple, quick, they lock together and they plug and unplug. It's a simple connection, but it works really good, and you can do a heavy gauge wire when you use this, which is what I like, because I believe this has got like maybe an 8-gauge wire or maybe a 6-gauge wire in this one. And then what I do I'll put my battery on an Anderson plug so I can quickly unplug it to take it out if I need to take it out and charge it. That way I don't have to unhook it from the fuse panel every time. And then I take another one with a built-in fuse, and then you can plug them together to give you your terminals. And you can get these already pre-made, or you can make them yourself, and it's way cheaper if you buy the spools of wire directly from Amazon, and then you just buy a whole bag. Like I get these Anderson plugs in a big bag, and you just put them together yourself. It's way cheaper that way. But if you wanted to just do it one time, you can just get these pigtails already pre-made if you wanted to with the built-in fuse. So you got your fuse panel right here, and your fuse panel, I'm gonna have to show you this part because this will be the same on all the different brands. So on this one, this is the nightlight. You got your positive hookup, you got your negative hookup, and then this wire right here with the plug on it is the wire that runs to your switch. It'll be this wire here, that 10-foot wire that runs straight to the switch. But you're also gonna have a little red wire that you're not gonna know what you're supposed to do with it. This is a remote wire, or a kind of like a control wire. Say you were putting this in your vehicle and you wanted it to you wanted this to go off whenever you turn your key off in your vehicle. This red wire would go to that ACC wire under the hood of your vehicle. So you know the ACC wire is when you click your key one time in an older vehicle, or your newer vehicles, you hit the button one time without your foot on the brake, it just turns your radio on, it doesn't crank your vehicle. That's your ACC wire. You'll tie that into that. That way when you turn your key off, it turns the power off to this. If you wanted this to be constantly powered, anytime there's juice hooked to this, all you do is you take that red wire and you just tie it straight in with the hot wire, your power wire, your positive wire, and then your negative wire go over here. That gives it a constant 12 volts to your switch panel or to your fuse box at all times. What I do in that situation, just like in the tiny camper build, I will run this instead of straight to a connector to it. I have those red on and off switches, which I've got one right here. And they've got different ones online that you can get. This is kind of a fancy one. It's got a digital display on it. But what I'll do is I'll break that wire, that main positive wire, and I'll have it right here so I can turn this on and off to turn the power on and off to the fuse panel manually. It works the same way as if you had it on your key switch. So you turn your key on, that's basically does the same thing. But you can get those on Amazon. They've got cheaper ones that I've run. This is just a fancy one that I picked up a while back. That's basically all you have to do. And then for the fuses, to hook your lights up, each one of these fuses has a positive and a negative hookup for that fuse. So like this fuse right here is a 30 amp fuse, You got a positive and a negative, and there's even a little light in there that tells you when that one's being used. Like when you turn the light on, that light, or when you hit your switch panel button for this one, which they're numbered, so this will be button number 1, it'll turn that little light on to let you know that it's being used, and you can actually just hook your wires straight to that. Each one of these setups, like I said, the different brands are going to go in a little bit different. This one you screw in with a Phillips head. Some of the other ones you kind of trim and just kind of stick in there and pull them tight. And I'm going to hook one of these lights up in just a minute to show you how it works. I don't know if I really need to show you on the battery because most of you guys know this part. Let me just show you straight on the Blue Eddy, because it's going to be the same scenario. It's just you're using something different. So if you've got a power bank that you've already got that you're wanting to use for a setup like this, all you have to have is a good 12-volt port. This one has an XT80 plug, I believe. I believe that's what this is called, or XT90 plug. I'll put it on the screen what this plug is exactly. They've got a male and a female, and this one works with the Blue Eddy because the Blue Eddy has a 12-volt, 30-amp port. That's not it. That's it. 12-volt, 30-amp port that this plugs into. It's got the female on the Blue Eddy, and you get the male one. And this I bought off of Amazon. It's already got the terminals on it, and it literally will just plug directly in to the front of the Blue Eddy. And now when I hit that DC button, it turns power on to the DC ports. This is 30 amped and 12 volts. This will hook up the same way a 12-volt battery does, just like this. So this is going to mount in that box that we built last week in the bed of my Tacoma. This is going to mount on the wall. The Blue Eddy hooks to it right here. When I want to take the Blue Eddy out, I don't have to unwire anything. I just pull this plug out, and then I can grab the Blue Eddy and take it out. Everything's going to plug directly in, which makes this really versatile. So I can take this in and out, bring it in if I need this somewhere else. If we're using the camper and I need this to go with us for the camper, this doesn't have to stay permanently installed. Unlike a battery, you know, a battery, you would need to put it on Anderson plugs to unplug everything to take the batteries in and out if you wanted to. So these are really good hookups if you've got a power bank with that port. Now, you might not have a Blue Eddy, you might already have a different style, but as long as you've got a port on there that is a 12-volt recommended 30-amp port, but you can do it with smaller amperage, just as long as you've got a good heavy gauge, you know, wire that can plug into a 12-volt port on your power bank, that you can run a positive and negative to your switch panel. So I got one of the 40-inch lights, this one right here. I got it tied into the number 1 button on the fuse panel. I'll bring you guys in close. And I know some of you guys watching this right now are like, man, I know how to do this. You don't have to show this. I do get a lot of comments in these videos where people would like to see this. So just bear with me. Let me show it to the ones who need to know it, and then we're going to go out and put it in the truck and do all the cool stuff. So I've got the XT, I believe it's XT90 power cord that hooks to the Blue Eddy. Yours might be different, of course. I've got a light tied into the number 1 plug, and we're going to plug it in. And you see, I don't know if you've seen it, but the light flashed on the switch panel. So I got the switch panel plugged in too. So now we'll hit it to turn it on, and then voila, look at that. And these things are awesome. So you can turn it on there. And once you got it turned on, as you can see, the buttons are all lit up. I'm missing stickers on these 2 buttons. I got to change them out. But this button right here is our number 1 button. And you can see it's easily going to turn it on. And then if we had other ones plugged in, these buttons would also do the same thing. You just go through it and hit them. And then with these KingPin lights, once you turn the button on, you can actually still control it right here. Once it has power going to it, and you can change the color to that really cool red color, which is awesome. They killed it with the diffuser on these. I love the way they diffuse these lights. You cannot see the LEDs in there, but you can change it back and forth. And you can also get dimmer switches from KingPin on their website that you can tie in between this and the fuse panel, so you can dim the lights if you wanted to be able to dim them up and down. So this is the KingPin 12-volt power supply kit, and this will be all the wire you need to be able to get it to your fuse box. It even comes with some zip ties, and it's even, let me pull it out right here to show you. It's already got the battery terminals on one end. It's got the built-in fuse on it. It's got some sheathing there up on looks like maybe 5 or 6 feet of it at the beginning. And then it's nice, long, heavy gauge wire. So that should be all you need to get from the battery to whatever fuse bank that you're running. And here's those mounts. They're called search mounts. I had a brain fart a while ago. I couldn't remember what they were called. But these actually just tie right into the end of the light. Let's see if I can do this with one hand and show you how they kind of just disappear in there. So this goes right into here. And then once it's mounted up, you can't tell that it's a separate piece. It blends in really good. And then you can aim them however you want to aim them. But I got some search mounts that we're going to be putting on our 40-inch bars across the sides and the back, so I can aim them. This is what an Anderson connector looks like up close. If you're unfamiliar with them, these are what I use when I'm running batteries. And then if you get a bag of them, they'll come like this. And after you put your terminals on, they clip in there, and then you just plug your wires together. Those work really well. I use these Anderson plugs on everything, even in my boat. And I've got some waterproof ones. Here's that KingPin 20 gauge, power cables, 30 foot of it. So this is the same exact wire that's on their lights right here. It's got the red and black already in it. And it's just so that you can extend these wires from the lights. Let's see what else. You can also use these fuse panels. So here's the fuse panel up close. We're tied in right here to number 1, and you can see it's on. That light that I talked about just a minute ago right in here, that little red light, I thought that it turned on whenever you're using it. That actually turns on when the fuse is blowed, I believe. So you can quickly glance in here and see if you've got a bad fuse. Here is the switch panel up close, and it's instant too. So as soon as you touch that button, it's there. And then of course you got the KingPin lights. Here's all the mount stuff that they come with. They do use the 3M, so it's the really good stuff. It sticks really well, but I just had that one issue when it gets really hot on those metal toppers on the inside. That 3M don't hold nothing really sticks really well. You basically got to screw them down. And then you can run stuff like USBs. I'll be running some USB ports for our stuff inside there, and I'll end up just extending the wires on stuff like this, running it all the way over, finding a empty slot, one of these empty fuse slots, and then it'll be tied into one of these and I can control it. Here's what that plug looks like on my Blue Eddy. And it's just a 30 amp 12 volt plug. Runs straight into your fuse panel, and then you're good to go. And you can get these on and off breakers. And that's basically it. It's really not that hard. I did 3D print a few things. If you watched last week's episode, I 3D printed this. This is just something that I made. It's gonna help me flush mount our system really clean in there. So I'm hoping when we're done, you're not going to see any wires, not even this wire. I'm hoping I'll be able to hide them, and I'll be able to make it look nice and clean on the inside there using different 3D printed stuff. And I've also put a fan in that box. I knew it was going to get hot in there. Even a lot of you guys commented, hey, you should probably put an exhaust fan in there. It's actually USB, so it'll plug directly to the Blue Eddy. So anytime the Blue Eddy is on in my truck, it'll be blowing the hot air out of the box. And I 3D printed a little cover in last week's episode on the printer, and it's just like a little vent so we can blow the hot air out. I'll show you once we get out there to the truck. But this is the F-Series 40-inch light. You can change the color here, and these things are super, super bright. It's almost the same color as the lights in my shop up there. A little bit different, but it's a nice clean light. I like it. But we're fixing to go stick all these in the truck. All right, I told you guys I was going to talk your ears off once we got in here. I do hope that helps some of you guys out. What I'm going to do now that you see how I'm going to do it, because I knew it was going to be super hard to film in the back of that truck, I'm going to go get all this stuff mounted, installed, run my wires, and then I'll catch up with you guys here in just a minute, and I'll show you. I'll give you a full tour. I'll show you where I mount the fuse panel, how I run the wires, where I mounted the lights, why I mount them, where I mount them. I'll try to go over all that and show you how all this works in just a minute. That way you don't have to suffer through me trying to get weird camera angles and stuff in the bed of that truck while I'm running all these wires. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll see you guys here in just a minute. All right, guys. Good morning. It is the next day. I spent many hours last night working on this truck camper. I got all the lights installed, all the wiring's done. It turned out awesome. I can't wait to show you. But I got excited just now when I walked out for the first time this morning. Look on the ground behind me. There's leaves on the ground. I know it's not fall yet. It's only the beginning of August, but it being a little bit cooler out here this morning. It's probably like 60 degrees here in Alabama this morning, which is kind of nuts. And it feels great out here. And the leaves, there's even leaves sitting on hood of my truck out here. Just a couple of them, but it's just enough to make me really get excited for fall. Those light covers, I don't know if you got a chance to catch last week's episode, but I put those light covers that I made on. I 3D printed those. I'm finding out over this past week of driving it that it's a bug catcher. There's dead bugs all over those light covers, but they seem to be doing pretty good. So I got, like I said, all the lights installed, all but two. I didn't install the 12 inchers yet, these right here, because I think I decided that I want to put these inside of that box that I built with you guys a couple weeks ago, the one that the Blue Eddy's in. And I want to design some dividers to go in that box. So I don't want to mount these just yet because I'm not sure how I'm going to make those dividers. I'm either going to build them out of wood and carpet them the same way I built the box, or I'm going to try to 3D print some cool dividers or whatever. So anyway, I've already got the buttons made for those for the cargo area for both lights. Just, I'm not going to screw them in there and wire them up yet until I know exactly how I want the dividers to go. But all the other lights are installed. I even added a little extra lighting to the top that I think some of you guys are going to like. My wife, she ended up really liking it. So let me show you how it turned out. So as you can see, I've got the truck popped open, got the tent set up just like we would if we were camping. And I even got me a little stool. I found that on Amazon. It's adjustable too. And I think it's going to be the perfect height for me to be able to just step up and walk right into the camper. So I'm going to start back here with the switch panel, and then we'll start turning all these lights on. But here's how I ended up mounting that switch panel. And I apologize if there's a lot of loud traffic. It's early Saturday morning, so that road's going to be busy. But here's where I installed that switch panel. And you can see now what I was going for, how clean of a look this is. And once we turn the lights on, you'll really be able to see how clean it is and how I ended up doing the lights up there. The up top was a little bit tricky, but I was able to figure it out. So anyway, what's really cool about this setup with the Blue Eddy is right now there is no power going to anything back here. Like these buttons don't have power. Nothing is powered up. Let me get this out of my way before I kick it again. Nothing's got power right now. And you can see I even put some USB ports here. So this Blue Eddy though, since it's got its own app, I can open up the Blue Eddy app, if I can show you without a glare. And this top one is actually my charger. That's my DC to DC charger that I can check on, turn on and off from here. But if I click on my 300, and now I can choose to turn on the DC or the AC. So I hit the DC, and once it turns on, you see that little blue dot slide over. So now I've got DC power going back here. So now this should work. These arrows are what I chose to go with for controlling which light is which. So obviously I've got a KingPin light up front. So you find the one that's pointing up front, hit the button, and I got them all set to red right now. I'll change them to white and show you how bright it is. My buddy made the joke when I sent him the picture of it yesterday. He was like, you could probably do surgery in the back of that truck. So I've got the KingPin light across, that's the 40. And then over here, if I want this one over here on the left, I mash my left arrow. The one on the right, I mash the right arrow. And of course I got this big KingPin 40-incher going across the back over the tailgate. And then I just hit this rear arrow button right here, and then boom, check that out. How cool is that? And if I want to swap them over, I just reach up here, swap them to the white, and then I got full light above my tailgate right here. And what's really cool about the way that I mounted these on the doors is if you come over here and you open up these bat wing doors, the light is out here. So now I can reach up, I can adjust these lights and angle them any which way I want. I can come over here and swap it out, and I can even reach this one here, swap it out to white while we're here. And I put all of these on the search mounts, so I can aim these, I can face them down. If I don't want the glare, the way I've noticed I like this light back here is when I open the tailgate, instead of having that one aimed back at me, I just aim that one down, and it gives a really good light on the inside right there. It just kind of glows straight down. And we come over here and open up this one, just like this, same thing. Got the search mounts on this one. and you turn it on or switch it to the white right here. And what's crazy, let me shut these up with the whites on. You can see how bright it is in here. So if this was completely shut, you know, say I'm in here, it's weather's bad or it's close to time for me to climb up and go to bed, and I want to just turn the lights on inside here while I'm in here, you can see how much light we have just by these lights, just by these 4 KingPin lights. And like I said, you can turn this one, I can actually aim it out if I wanted to and light up this whole area. If I'm out here cooking, if I got the griddle out here or something and I'm cooking, I can use this light out here, or I can just shine it in here if I'm getting something out of the bed of the truck. And you can see how much light we've actually got. Now, as for the light up top, we're gonna have to climb in there because I did something really cool. Let me make sure, let me just move this coffee because I will end up spilling it in there. I had to do something different for the top. Let me climb in here and I'll show you. So first off, you can see I got this. This is the original, it's not really a power bank. This came in this open road aluminum camper. If you guys watched that first video where I put this together, this was mounted in the top up here in the back corner of the tent area, and it came with a cord. You would plug your battery power to this, and it has USB ports, these little 12-volt ports. It's got a little voltage gauge on it. And I didn't want to permanently wire in a fridge here because I like to be able to take my Yeti out, my fridge out, and have a huge open bed still for, you know, carrying my tree stands and fishing gear and stuff like that. If I'm not camping, I still want to be able to use this truck as a truck for a while. So I opted to just relocate that down here, and I put it on a switch. So if you look at my switch panel here, you hit this button that says USB. Let me aim the camera over here. When you hit it, you see that it turns power on to this. So now I've got places to charge my phone. This has 2 USB-Cs and a USB at the top. And then it's got a couple of these little cigarette lighter style 12-volt ports. I can get you a good shot right there. And I've actually got the ice code just plugged right in with the cigarette lighter port, so we can run the fridge right off of that. But if I don't want to bring the fridge, I just unplug it and just take it out and leave it at home, and I still have my bed here, which turned out really great. And I've got it on a push button so I can turn it on and off. These 2 buttons here that say cargo, these are the ones I was talking about. These are going to run the 12-volt, I mean not the 12-volt, the 12-inch lights that go in my hatch area here, this box that we built that's got the Blue Eddy in it. I'm going to put one of them over here and one of them over here, so if, when I'm getting stuff out, I can hit one of these buttons and just turn lights on and be able to see what I'm doing, or if I need to mess with the wiring or something like that, I can use the light to get in there. And I'll get in there in just a minute and show you how I ended up wiring everything up. But first, let's hop up here to the top. Man, this setup is so cool. It's so weird being able to stand straight up in the back of my truck while I'm camping in the tent, and I still can't reach the roof of this thing. So one of the obstacles I had to figure out was getting permanent power to the roof up here, because this is a light that wraps all the way around the roof, and without having, you know, a power bank up here, you would have to run the wire that plugs into these lights down here and permanently mount them. Well, you really can't do that, because since this bed is such a tight fit, like these panels are part of the bed, they slide, and you see once they slide and go in that little slot, there's no way that you can really put a hole in a wire through, because when you slide this bed in and out, you would end up messing the wire up. There was really no good way of doing it. So this is what I ended up coming up with. I ended up redirecting. I had to pull this whole light out of the slot, and because the plugs were over here for it, so I pulled all the lights out and I re-put them in, or I stuck it back in, so that my wire actually comes down over here. And what I did is, instead of making this like a permanent thing, I just kept the wire on this end. And if you follow this wire down, I've actually added a USB port right here. It's below the bed, so it's not going to interfere my bed. So when the bed slides over from it's time to sleep, it slides to here. And you can see there's really no way to get this wire through without that bed pinching the wire and messing it up. So what I opted to do is, instead of putting these wires down here and permanently wire them to the fuse panel, I put this USB port here and this little button right here that says interior. I'm gonna hit it. I want you guys to see what happens to the ceiling now. Check that out. So we had these USB powered twinkle lights. My wife loves these little twinkle lights, and you can change them from flickering. They got a little button on the thing here, and so that they're not flickering a whole lot, you can just set them up to where they're constant. Let me find it. There's so many modes. There we go. So it ended up, I had to just kind of wrap them back and forth because there's these little built-in loops for hanging this bag thing up here in the ceiling. So all I did was just go back and forth. I ended up making what looks to be a pentagram above my head while I sleep. So Sam and Dean Winchester would probably be okay sleeping in here, but we'll see how it goes. But I did think it was pretty cool. But other than that light, I've also, on the same plug, I'm able to plug up the built-in light. So if you hit the button here, it actually also turns on the light around the ceiling, which, let me get a better shot because I think it turned out really cool. And you can change the color. Let's see if I can do it from way down here. See that? And you can dim it and stuff like that. But now when we're camping, we've got plenty of light up here now. And with the KingPin lights down below, I'll try to get you guys a good shot. You can see there's plenty of light down below. Now what I think I'm gonna do in order to be able to have these lights going once I slide the bed over, because the way this bed works, you can see I'm getting ready to camp. I've already got my camping pillow and comforter in here. So the way this works is this slides forward. Let me get it to lock in. So that slides forward this way, and then the mattress slides with it, and then these guys, they slide out like this. Hold on, it's hard to do all this with one hand. There we go. Now this guy slides over to here and then locks in, and then the mattress just slides over like this. And then this other panel, I'm standing in the hole here, this other panel slides into here. What I'm probably gonna do, let's see if I can film this. Since I've got this wire that has to come through here and plug into this in order for me to have power, I may end up in this little panel here that slides over, just drilling me a little pass-through hole right here in the corner. So when I do, you know, decide it's time to lay down and go to bed up here, when I slide the bed over like I just did, when I slide this last panel over, I could probably just unplug these from here, drop them down in this hole first, and then when I get close over here, reach over here, plug these up, and then drop the panel in and put our bed over, just slide our mattress back over. I think that will work way better than trying to figure out a way to permanently run these wires, because this way I still can fold the tin up and I don't have to fight or worry about pinching a wire, and it should work pretty good. So now we're back into the camp setup. So now let me show you the inside of the box here. So these things, here's that rear search mount. I can show you, I can aim it down here also to be able to see inside the box. And what's cool is these are also the pads that go up here, so the bed area that slides over, and they're also doubling as my little couch cushion down here. So I can set these up here, and now we can open up this hatch, and you can see how I ended up doing this Blue Eddy system, and I'll show you that fan that I put in too. So here is how I ended up wiring in the Blue Eddy. You can see I got it powered on right now. I've got it hooked up to DC power. This is the DC to DC controller. As you can see, it is on. I do have it wired up to the battery of my truck, so anytime the truck is running, this is getting charged from my alternator, just the same as my truck battery. In this little corner right here, you can see where I mounted that little 12-volt fan, and it's going right now because I've got it plugged directly into the USB port here on the Blue Eddy. That means anytime I'm running this Blue Eddy and I've got the DC on, which that would be what I would be running back here, it's going to be pumping air out of this box and blowing directly out of my little vent if you watched last week's episode, you got to see this vent here. And I wish y'all could hear it. I mean, it's barely pumping. I mean, it's barely making a noise, but it's pumping good airflow out this little vent hole right here. But I did that because I knew that all these electronics in here, plus this is a black, aluminum camper shell during the summer. This is going to get hot, and I didn't want anything in here to get overheated. So anytime that I have this thing on and it's making, more heat, this is going to be pumping all of that air straight out of the box, and it's doing a really good job, and it's super quiet too. Over here, I still got to do a little bit of wire management. You can see where I've got the fuse panel installed. Everything is mounted right here to this wall. It all kind of wraps around. You really can't see any wires in here. You can see over here, of course, but this is the wire. This has to be a loop because, the door has to open. The light is mounted on the outside of that door. So when the struts go out, this loop will extend with the strut, and it keeps anything from getting in a bind. There's really the only wire you're going to see in here are those. I've got everything else hidden pretty well. This thing's turning out really good. When I want to run my AC up top, I've got this guy. This is just an extension cord that I got off, I think, Amazon. But this is plugged in right now. So this is plugged in to the AC side. And the plan is anytime that I want to run the AC, the way I've got my little lid built here, it worked out pretty well. I already had this lid built like this because of my Diamondback. And when I opened it with a Diamondback, it had to clear my mounts. So I had to put this notch here. But this notch worked out for this situation because now I can just pull this up when I'm running the AC, sit it up here, turn my AC on, and I can actually control it with, control the AC and the Blue Eddy with the app on my phone. So, and then when I'm not using it, I can just tuck it away right there in that little extra cubby over the fender well there. And there's not a lot of extra room on this side, so this is not going to be storage. This will be just for wiring and stuff like that, because I want to leave space in there for the Blue Eddy to be able to breathe. This side over here, however, is going to be storage, and this is where I'm probably going to try to figure out how to make some dividers over here. You can see I did cut a hole in the side. I've got that strapping down the Blue Eddy so it don't slide around in here. There's plenty of room here, and the plan is for those KingPin 12-inch lights is I'm probably going to mount one here on this wall and then one on the same side over there and that other side. And I got those buttons where I can just hit the button and give me some light in here. But I'm thinking I want to do some sort of a divider in the bottom of this for camping gear. I think it'll be a good space to be able to keep permanent stuff in here, like cookware and stuff like that. So for my fellow wiring nerds like me who like to do all this cool wiring and stuff, I'll show you something really cool about this Blue Eddy thing. So my app, as you can see, hopefully, you can see right now how much is using for the DC side, and if I wanted to turn on the AC side, I just hit that button and then it would turn on the AC side. I don't have anything plugged up to the AC right now. The only things that I would be using the ACC ports, or I keep saying ACC, the AC ports for on the Blue Eddy is going to be stuff like the electric heater or the electric AC that we got. But I wanted to show you something pretty cool. So this app controls the Blue Eddy, but if I back up, I can go to the controller, that DC to DC controller, and if I switch to it, it has its own little separate app, and it shows, now it doesn't show a truck, it shows a, hopefully y'all can see that without a glare, it shows like a little Sprinter van on there. But watch what happens. So it's got a firmware update, but I'm not going to mess with it. So the system should be on. Let me make sure the system's on. So let me crank my truck really quick, and I'll show you what happens. It should kick on, and we should see it start charging. So now if I do this, I can go to unit in sleep mode. No further action is possible. Oh, I got to give it time to wake up. There we go. All right, so now I just turn the system on. Now that the truck is running, you can kind of see in the app, it'll start showing a little graphic of how it starts to charge it. And we can actually leave this app, or this one, and then go back to the Blue Eddy one. and we get in the Blue Eddy, when it should, here in just a minute, start showing that it's being charged from the alternator, all on the same app. I don't know how long it takes for the app to update it when it starts doing it. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool that I can be in the truck going down the road, like if we're headed to camp, and I can check the status of the Blue Eddy to make sure that it's topped off, make sure it's charging like it should be charging. So if y'all are interested in doing something like this, y'all be sure. This episode isn't like sponsored by Blue Eddy or anything, but they did just sponsor one of the recent episodes, probably last week, that y'all saw where I installed that Blue Eddy. And I do have discount codes for the Blue Eddy. I can link it in this video as well, but it's all in, more info's in that video. If y'all end up wanting to go this route and power your van, your truck, your tent setup, whatever you got with the Blue Eddy like this, I think it's gonna work out good. I'm so used to using lithium batteries for a setup like this. Let me turn my truck off. I'm so used to using lithium batteries in setups like this that I'm not used to having this much control. You know, usually I just have to double check the lithium batteries before we leave the house to make sure they're topped off, and then not really sure, you know, how much juice I've used at camp. At least this way I'll be able to tell. And then not only the DC to DC charger like that, with the alternator, I'm going to put solar on the roof of this tent. So we've got two different forms of charging, and you can actually use them both at the same time. So when I'm driving down the highway, it'll be getting a charge from the alternator of the truck and the solar panels on the roof at the same time. So even if we was to leave the house, say the camp we were going to is a couple hours away, if we leave the house and it's at that 50-60%, odds are by the time we get to where we're going, it's going to charge it, you know, fully all the way up when we get there, which would be pretty cool. It'd be pretty helpful. But this thing is basically ready to go. It's just time for me to throw some camping gear in here and go check it out. I'm really digging these cooler mornings. I hope we get more of these very soon. But yeah, I'm ready to go camping in this thing. I'm really digging how those lights look from the outside. Hopefully they're coming through on the camera, that you can actually see my little twinkle lights up there through the screen of the tent from out here. I can't see them on the camera screen. Hopefully you guys can see them in there. But I'm sure at night that's going to be really, really cool. I got to check them out just for a minute last night because I got so tired running all these wires and wiring this up that it got late. So I turned them on, made sure they worked, and then I went and got into bed. So we'll see tonight how cool they are. Another thing I forgot to mention, why I put this controller right here, and I love how like seamless it looks. It's really solid. I've got that 3D mount that I did, and all I did was just kind of bolt it to the bracket. You know, it was already here. This bracket is just this bracket here. It's part of the camper, and I just took the bolt out and just ran it through this and just sandwiched it in there, so it bolted it on. But the reason I put mine here, and I tried to do it with every setup that I've built like this, is when you close the tailgate, say you don't need to open the tailgate, you just got to open up this back hatch. So you pop open the back hatch, it puts it at the perfect position so I can still access all of my controls right here. And what's really neat about the Blue Eddy setup is I can turn all this off, and then when I'm done or we're going to hit the road, I just open the app up, and then as you can see, when I hit this button to turn the DC off, it'll turn the DC off. I heard the fan turn off, the little blower fan I've got down in there, and now there's no power in here. You turn it back on. I love having the app to be able to do that. And now I can just turn everything back on. I heard my little blower fan just turn back on. Now we can get everything booted back up. Every time I turn the power off and turn it back on, though, it puts the twinkle lights back in the little flashing mode up there. I didn't purposely do the star up there. It's just kind of how it turned out of me stretching the lights back and forth. That definitely gives me a Dean Winchester vibe, though. My buddy Keith actually talked me into getting this off Amazon, too. I got it in last week. Check this out. It's like this really cool little lamp. How cool is that? It's got different colors. And what's the coolest part about it is, watch this. So it extends, and then these can fold out almost like a street lamp almost. And check this out. You can just set it up wherever and aim the lights. It's even got a light off the top of it. This thing was really cool. I got it out here because I'm going through all my stuff this morning, trying to figure out exactly what I want to put in here kind of permanently for the camp setup and what I'm going to have in totes to throw in there when it's time to go camping, because I'm ready to take this thing out. I told you guys power was the last thing I had to add before we're taking this thing out. So before it gets too cold and the weather goes too bad, it's almost crappie fishing season here in Alabama. We're going to have to hit up another Guntersville trip really soon. So we're going to take this out. I'll probably take either the kayak or the boat with me. So we'll do some fishing trips and stuff while we're there. This thing is really cool. So y'all stay tuned for that. Let me know what you think about this new setup in the video. If there's any questions that you got, hit me up in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions. Y'all check out KingPin for their lights. These things, I'm telling you, they are the best truck camping lights on the market. I love how they've got the built-in switch so you can switch it from red to white. That's really cool. But y'all check them out. I have everything linked in the video description. I'll try to categorize everything. So if you're wanting to do the Blue Eddy setup, you can go that route. Or if you're wanting to do it like I did the camper, you can go that route. I did notice when I was looking through the links to share with you guys, the Nightlight system, like this 8-button switch panel, it looks like they upgraded their fuse panels to the same ones that Oxbeam uses. So they're way nicer. I haven't bought one of the new ones yet, but by the pictures, it looks like they've upgraded their fuse panels. So they're going to be, if you get one now, it probably won't be that old style fuse panel like you saw me install. It'll be one much nicer, though I like the other one way better anyway. So hopefully they did. Check it out. All the links in the video description. Let me know what you guys think about this. If you're new here, I upload every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So y'all stick around. Go to my homepage. I got a lot of content like this. The full build of this truck's there. Several versions of the build of this truck. This is like probably the 4th or 5th version that we're building out on this Tacoma. So y'all go check them out. If you got any questions, hit me up, and I will catch you guys next Monday at 6 o'clock. Peace.